With me today is Stijn, Head of Live Operations and Monetization at Supercell, Sebastian, Brant, Director of Player Services, Huuuge Games, and Oboronko, player support lead at SYBO. They're going to give a little bit more about what they do when I ask the first question. In the interest of time, we'll keep it going. But really what we wanted to talk to you about today is to look at, LiveOps, and everyone's definition of that's very different, but just this is the LiveOps track, and how the support solutions and the LiveOps itself are merging and coming together, and what you should be looking at in terms of what's coming or how to improve that whole process within the game. So I'm going to jump straight in and ask some questions, but a little bit more about me. 4.5 years now at Keywords, most wonderful 4 years. Fit, fat, and healthy, because that's what happens in gaming. You sit in front of the computer far too long, and somehow the calories find you. But the role really is about how do we bring better solutions to the players. Everything's about the player happiness loop, and that continuously keeping the players engaged and keeping them happy. So at Keywords, we've been investing a lot of time and money into technology, AI, the human intelligence, which is critical these days, and bringing that all together in the LiveOps, player support, player engagement space. So if you want to pick brains, learn some stuff here for the next 2 days, just come see me. Coffee, but get me a coffee, get as much knowledge as you want. But kicking off, Stijn, if a very short description of what it is you do, how do you, when you give a very quick definition of what you believe the LiveOps means to Supercell, and share briefly more about your LiveOps strategy and LiveOps team and how it's structured.
Sure, sounds good. Yes, very quickly, LiveOps, I think of different companies, it means a bunch of different things. I think at a high level at Supercell, we think about sort of like a continuous supply of new content and events to excite and delight our players with a clear end goal, which is generally either engagement, retention, or monetization, or preferably a combination of all three. But essentially, we're trying to make our games as exciting and as lively as possible, but with a very clear KPI in mind. So we are trying to prove a metric that will essentially lead to an improvement in a business or product KPI. LiveOps strategy at Supercell, I would say that varies strongly by game team. We are sort of looking at a few core pillars, engagement being one of them. So we do try to make our games as exciting as possible. We try there to be new content, new events. We try to improve metrics like retention early on. We want to make sure that there's lots of playtime. Essentially all the KPIs that are engagement related. That's sort of core pillar number one for us. Number two is monetization. There needs to be content that players want to buy, that they're excited about, that they want to convert on. Finding the balance between those two, I'd say that's probably the biggest differentiator between our titles. So we have games like Brawl Stars, which at the moment, we're very focused on engagement. We feel like that's actually our best chance of improving the overall game health and improve the business metrics. So once you figure out for a game, what are the levers you can pull, what are the things that actually work for your game, that's what we're trying to double down on. There's on the other side games like Clash of Clans, we're much more focused on improving our monetization metrics. Very stable user base, very stable engagement metrics. Retention has been strong for the last 11 years. And so that's a title where we say, okay, actually monetization here is actually the key lever that we can pull, and hence we double down on that. I would say that as Supercell and as a company, we've been growing a lot by Supercell standards. There was 400 of us last year. There's 540, I believe, as of today. 140 people that we've grown over the last 12 months. We're going to add a bunch more people, and a lot of that is actually, aiding to our efforts within LiveOps and monetization as a function. So we want to deliver more value to our players. We want to double down on engagement, double down on monetization, just make sure we deliver a better experience that is worth players' time and also their investment. And that's essentially my role at Supercell as well today. It's I'm building out the function. I spent 3 years working on Clash of Clans and on Brawl Stars, but my role today is basically hiring new talent, developing new talent, and making sure we have all the capabilities in place so that we can grow as a business, grow each game. We have pretty ambitious targets. We have Brawl Stars in the room, we have Heyday in the room, we have Central Function in the room. We're all ambitious to grow, and we think that we can, just by delivering better LiveOps value to our players. And yeah, just doing a better job and giving them more to engage with and more to monetize on as well.
Great, thanks for that. And just note that the point that's being made here is that a game will spend probably more time live than it took to develop in the modern era. So it's really critical that you get the engagement balance and that whole support and LiveOps right. Coming to you, Sebastian, can you share with us your LiveOps strategy, a little bit about yourself, and how do your support teams assist and add value to that? Also thinking a little bit from a technology-human balance.
I would say it's not much different. The focus is on monetization and engagement when it comes to players. But what is important is that my teams, which is player support, VIP team, and player insight team, fully support all these actions. So basically for us, it's crucial to be knowledgeable and to transfer this knowledge also to outsourcing partners, to make sure that we can support the players in every time they request help from our side. When it comes to player services, we are involved from the beginning. When it comes to new features, new monetization events, we are checking if the banners are up to date, if they are kind of like logically structured. Then afterwards, after the launch, we are kind of like testers. So we make sure that everything works on production. If there is anything that QAs didn't spot. And afterwards, we collect feedback, obviously, and we provide it to the product, to the monetization teams. We talk to our players one-on-ones. We do video calls. If we talk about bigger features, we do surveys, and together with business analytics, we provide opinions, and we try to kind of like give suggestions and to improve or to change. So basically, we need to make sure that that we all communicate well. We are aware of what's going on in the monetization calendar. We work very closely with the product department. Our basically player service agents and then VIP account managers and obviously player system need to be knowledgeable, and I need to say that many times player service agents they know more about the game than actually the developers, right? So this is basically the goal, communication, knowledgeable, and being knowledgeable, and trying to improve the product and for the sake of customers, for user experience. I think that's it.
We'll drill into some of those things a little later in the conversation. I know that that's been pretty high level. But coming to you, Vlad, a very quick description of what it is you do. And the first question for you is, so how do your support contribute to LiveOps and strategy SYBO being different to what you've just heard now?
Yes, thank you, Peter. I'm Vlad, working for 2 years at SYBO, quite a newbie in the industry. And regarding the question, the LiveOps strategy at SYBO is pretty simple, but at the same challenging, because we keen to provide our players with the highly engaged content that they've been asking for, and it's not an easy task to do that, because you need to know your huge audience, like 150 million monthly players, and especially when you have 3 weeks update cadence, it means that your team updates the game with everything new, with a new destination, with a new character, with new boards, with everything new. And I mean, obviously, you sometimes have bugs, that's naturally. So that's why your support team, they need to have the flexible tools in their possession, so they will be able to cater their workflow, to update their knowledge base, FAQ, to create bots, automations to deflect tickets. And we at SYBO also constantly listening our players' audience on social media, on different forums, Reddit, Discord. And one of the examples how player support team actually had an impact on the LiveOps strategy that we noticed when our players, they've been looking for one popular character in the knowledge base. They just typed the name of that character a dozen of times. I don't know why. They just wanted that character. We collected the feedback. We delivered that to the LiveOps team, and they released a successful promo. So that's kind of a collaboration we have.
So I was just sticking with that, because obviously we've given a high-level overview of apps. Let's drill in a little more to sort of how this all plays out, what technology, what tools, and how people go about stuff. Vlad, you recently changed the support tool platform. Can you talk about the reasons for doing that, and like what do you see in terms of the gains of that in helping this whole LiveOps collaboration with support underwritten by support?
Yes, sure. 6 months ago, we actually switched to HelpShift. Before, we had another help desk tool, and we actually had a lot of reasons, Peter, why we wanted to switch to another tool. I have 3 main ones to share. The first one, I would say, we wanted to get rid of emails. That's something that Rovio, Pascal guy, also told about before. That's the same pain point that we had, because when you force your players to leave your game and open the external email provider to type this reply, that's just decreasing your retention. And the second reason, I would say that we actually wanted to integrate more automations, bots, and AI into our player support journey, because we just wanted to keep up with the times and deflect more tickets, save money, save time. And the third one, naturally, we just wanted to increase our customer satisfaction. That we actually did, but yeah, that's the 3 main reasons.
Yeah, and it's been quite a journey so far, but happy you're meeting all those objectives?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Stijn, coming back to you, let's drill a little bit more deeply into that. What sort of is the data that is key to you in helping make these decisions? Because these guys want the secret sauce. Obviously,
Secret sauce,
what
okay.
Supercell has been highly successful with. What's that data that really drives these LiveOps support decisions?
I'll give a high-level framework. I think for us, there's sort of like 4 categories that we're looking at data-wise. I think one is obvious, right? So I mean, we have our data analysts that are embedded within our game teams. We're looking at sort of like the overall health of the business, health of the game, product metrics, right? Everything from DAU to retention to re-engaged player retention to monetization. So like all sort of like the core metrics that are key to inform what we do. Every sort of new event, new piece of content, new feature that goes into the game, there's hypotheses on which metrics they will improve, and so kind of like on a core level, we're following up on those assumptions, making sure those are hit and trying to improve them over time. I think the previous talk, there was mention of, right, you never launch V1 kind of in a perfect shape. That's very much the case for us. Like there's an initial assumption, we try to hit it, and then we iterate and try to improve the metrics as far as we can, up until the point where, well, we think it's a good investment of our time and move on to the next thing. I think that's one. 2 is player research. We've been doubling down on that quite a bit over the last couple of months in particular. So like supplementing our kind of like heavy quant data that's coming in anyway with also like player opinions on how they find our content. So let's say doing a bi-weekly or a monthly survey within the game. How do you find this content? Why did you buy it? Why didn't you buy it? What could be better? It's kind of like a mix of just very basic comparable quant where it's like a rating from 1 through 5, supplemented with a bit of open-ended qualitative questions, but without risking a player churning because it's just too much or too demanding. The third group is, for us, I think as a company, the community team has been a huge value add to Supercell, and so that's through social channels, that's through our creator program, that's through Reddit, that's through X, that's through Facebook, that's just comments that our players are sharing, and then 2-way communication between our community teams and then our player base, which has been pretty vital in terms of supplementing what we know on the quant side, which is like qualitative info on why is that. I think it's quite easy to look at numbers and make your own opinion. I for sure jump to conclusions. They're sometimes wrong, they're sometimes incomplete. And I think a lot of player sense check can also help and understand okay, why did this number move the way it actually moved. I'm sure that everyone here that works in monetization will know that there's plenty of tests you do where you're 99% sure that it's going to work exactly that way, and then that 1% is exactly what happens. So that's just part of it, and that's that's part of the game. And the last group, and this is more on the player support side. So we have an embedded game champion on every single game team, which is essentially our way of getting all our player support interactions kind of embedded into our game team as well. For the 2 years that I worked on Clash of Clans, this person literally sat on my left-hand side, so I was kind of continuously aware of what I was doing in terms of live operating the game, new events, monetization. So he knew what I was doing, I knew what he was doing. He was in touch with hundreds or thousands of player support agents, where we have players that are coming in with problems, with bugs, with feedback, and that's through HelpShift within the game. So we have players that want to reach out to us, that want to talk to us, they can engage with us anytime. And for us, the game champion is sort of like our way into the team to make sure that whatever feedback they have, whether it's a bug, whether it's a problem, whether it's a suggestion, when there's general themes and kind of overall kind of like broad strokes of opinions that come true, those get embedded into our process. So they come into our roadmap, into our LiveOps plan, into our monetization. If a number doesn't, if a number isn't delivering as I expect it would, my first port of call is the community managers to see, hey, what is social saying? And then this game champion to ask, hey, look at tickets, what's coming true? Like, what are the general concerns or problems that you see that we can use? So, yeah, those are the 4, and I would say player support is a critical one in terms of tagging it to player progression
and
as well.
keeping them close.
Yep.
Good friends, not enemies. Right. Sebastian, coming over to you in terms of taking that technology level a little further and looking at how technology can help this whole support LiveOps interface. You've been a bit of a pioneer in the language AI, the machine translation piece. So a 3-part question for you is like, what was it before versus now? What was the thought process of why you would want to use something like machine translation in the LiveOps environment? And then how did you test to see that it actually was giving you the success you wanted?
I always thought that we cannot only focus on English-speaking audience. Like we have other markets that needs to be taken care of, and we were always looking for solutions, how we can improve our language skills or language tactics when it comes to player support and VIP management, etc. And I tried many things. We've done machine translations like Google Translate and stuff like that. We were using Keyword Studio services for outsourcing agents for specific languages. We were also going for companies that were offering, I was in the past before AI, machine translation with manual support of this machine translations. So all of these options, they have some. We had some issues with that, like either it was costly, it was not time efficient, etc., etc. So now with AI, now it's much easier, and with this tool that actually Helpshift has offered us to test, we were really lucky to check it out, and we found out that it helps us to reduce the time of response to players. It helps us to increase CSAT, especially for languages like Asian languages. That were the most tricky ones. And we went up from, as far as I remember, we did an A/B test, and for the non-translated tickets and the translated tickets, we saw an improvement of, as far as I remember, 0.5 when it comes to CSAT. So it was a really good result. And also, it's a really good tool to optimize the cost. By that, I mean, you decide which languages you want to translate, which tickets you want to translate, which segments of users you want to target with dedicated translations. So we're looking forward to using this tool in 2024. As the test went really good, so we decided to take it on board. What will it bring? We'll definitely reduce the cost of agents speaking
native foreign language agents.
Exactly. And we hope to see improvement of CSAT and time to respond across all the markets.
So Vlad, taking that technology approach on your approach with the recent shift to the system, now that it is end-to-end with the whole platform tying into the agents, have you seen some notable outcomes in terms of before-after results with the key things that are driving in a LiveOps space, the support interface with KPIs, FAQ, automation, CSAT? What are you seeing in terms of that trend with utilizing a more modern or AI-driven approach?
Yes, Peter, we noticed significant results, to be honest. First one that I can mention, that's that we decreased the percentage of emails as an incoming workload by 10 times. So it's like around 10% of our workload now, it's emails. And having done that, we also noticed that we improved our customer satisfaction just only with this one move, and it just it significantly increased. That we were really happy about that. On another hand, we increased the average full resolution time per issue, because when you remove from your agent's workload those simple, easy questions or tasks that cover automatically by bots and automations, then they have time to solve more complex ones. And it takes that time for them to chat with our players. And I also noticed that players, they like chat more than emails. So sometimes they just spamming us with different questions. So that's also pretty interesting. And the last thing is that we actually leverage a good automation level from the start. It means that right now we are covering more than 12% of our workload. It's just the beginning where we start with. And it means that we save tons of money, tons of time of our agents. So yeah, really happy with that.
Stijn, coming back to you, in terms of when you look at this whole LiveOps environment switching to the support, how do you define, or what outcomes are you looking for that you can give some guidance to in terms of what are the key measures in future-proofing the game?
Well, it's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I would say, starting with engagement, I think that for us is sort of like the bread and butter of what Supercell's been good at for the last 10 plus years. We're always thinking about, okay, which KPI do we want to improve when we bring a new feature to the game, when we bring a new event, a new offer type. It always starts with a hypothesis, it starts with an assumption that we're trying to hit. If it's engagement, it's quite often retention focused. I think that's for us, in games with anywhere between 10 and 40 million DAU, that for us is the easiest way often to move the needle. If the game retains a slightly bit better, or we churn a few less players, or percentage points at least, that adds up over time, week over week, month over month. That's sort of like how we do major shifts in performance. I think that's a very clear one where issues with, be it through player support, be it through community, those are often the first teams to flag any issues or concerns there. So those are things we're trying to improve constantly. And I think on the other side, I think on the monetization side, I think that's for us, that is where we have a ton of space to improve. Our games historically are very good at engaging, very good at retaining players. I would argue they're under-operated and they're under-monetized, and that's something that we're working on every single day with our growing teams. And I think for us, trying to find that balance, that's going to be the biggest challenge, right? You bring in players under certain assumptions. There's an unspoken player contract. This is the game they sign up for. This is the experience they want to be part of. And we're trying to sort of like rebalance, okay, how do we bring in new ways to monetize players that are exciting to players, that is for content that they're happy about, and that is basic metrics. It's improving ARPDAU, it's improving first-time conversion, it's improving repeat conversion. Very simple, measurable metrics that sort of like on a high business level make a huge impact for us as a company. And I think it's an exciting journey. I think for every single game that leads to different strategies. For some games, like the engagement lever is much easier to pull. Like I said, for other games, monetization is the way we're going down. And I think within LiveOps, you can look at participation rate, you can look at completion rate, you can look at monetization per event. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't feed into like these higher level product or business metrics, it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't matter if you're moving around players from A to B. It's the overall picture that we're trying to improve. And so that's for us the core challenge, but it's also super exciting and lots of opportunities. So expect more from us there.
Similarly to you, Sebastian, having seen, I guess, the explosion of mobile and then now a free-to-play model sort of going across other channels and everyone trying to kickstart, should we call it Web3 or the metaverse, what are you sort of seeing some of the challenges lying ahead in terms of is it going to be more of the same in how you do the player support and the live ops, or do you see, because there may be a shift in channel, there would need to be a higher adoption of technology?
When it comes to player support, I definitely think that if we move to web browsers, the player service needs to adapt. We have been with Helpshift for more than 4 years now, and we are trying to take all the new ideas and the functionalities that you are offering. For example, the live chat is really interesting for us, and that we want to try out definitely. It's kind of like when we mentioned the email conversations and going to live chat. It's completely changing the approach. We want to be fast, we want to be efficient, and we want to help players as soon as possible, and not only on mobile but also on web. So we will take advantage of these new features that you are offering.
One of the things is obviously everyone's spoken about feedback. So just very quickly going from left to right, how often do you look at doing surveys, or is it like after every ticket do you really bug the players? How are you collecting the feedback, and how is the system helping, Vlad?
The feedback that we collect, it's actually from, first of all, that's social media. That's where our player experience team are helping us. That's also the tickets that we have, that our player support team is collecting for us. And I usually like reading Reddit forums. I go there every day and just look through the latest posts to understand what they are playing, are doing. And Discord is the huge server that we have. So they are quite beneficial. It's just, yeah, you need to have the time to go and check by yourself, even to understand what's the audience are doing over there, because you need to be there on that front too.
From your side, Sebastian, any tips on that?
So nowadays, when we have AI, we are taking advantage of that. For example, for Help Shift, we have integrated solutions that will give us the sentiment, will give us real-time feedback on the tickets. We don't need to go manually anymore through all the tickets. We will have, if there are any issues, they will be spotted immediately and reported to the teams responsible for fixing. We do a lot of, we send out many surveys. Now it's basically, it's a part of the product life cycle. It's always a survey. We always ask questions to players about how they feel about the feature, what they would like to change, etc., etc. We monitor social media, obviously. We do app reviews like everyone does, I think. And based on that, we create like a bigger picture and we present it to the product. I think we are the one to push for changes if they are necessary, if they need it.
LiveOps side to support, coming from your perspective, how are you feeling that feedback is taken in, Stijn, and is it something that you also drive in your team, or you expect more from the support team to drive to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually like Sebastian said, like it's part of the product life cycle. I don't think it can be something that lives entirely on its own in a separate room. Like I said, for us, it's embedded. Embedded literally means sitting, as part of the team, and then giving feedback where needed. I think it flows in two ways. Like when there are, I think often when it's bugs or when it's problems, it comes, from player support into the game team just to make us aware of the problem, also how big it is. I think that's actually a huge piece of Help Shift and these tickets is not only do we get the feedback on what's wrong, we can also see, okay, where is this player in the game? How many players do we think are affected by this? Is it 5 people, which is probably okay? Is it 5,000 people? It gets a bit bigger. Is it 1 million people? Okay, now we're all flags are all alarms are blaring. So it really varies. I think when it comes to product feedback, it's probably more the other way. So it's us asking player support if they got input on specific topics. So did they kind of sift through these different answers or different input they received? Like, okay, did anyone mention this? Is it a problem? Is it an opportunity? So I think it's a two-way street, as it should be. I think the one thing I want to highlight here is that for us, and also in the comment, for example, on social, we have people where it's essentially their full-time job to make sure that they're aware of how the community is feeling and how the both from a community side and from a player support side. For us, I think the most important piece is like how do we make that value add, in addition to the quantitative data that we receive. I think on their own, both of them could be quite dangerous, right? We have a very vocal community, which is wonderful. It's a great position to be in. But it's often a vocal minority from which you hear, especially through social channels. I think through player support, it's a bit more balanced, but you have to care a lot about the game to come voluntarily, give your feedback, and wait for a human agent to respond to you. But that together with our quantitative data, I think that's for us where where the real power lies. Like we see the numbers, we get the qualitative feedback. I think the more proactive player support can be, the better. But having them as part of our team, it was like this when I joined Supercell. I couldn't imagine working in a different way where they're not next to you, because otherwise, you're missing this whole angle or perspective that is pretty valuable in how you work.
I kind of covered us with all those questions, and there's a little bit of time left, and so maybe there's 1 or 2 questions, because it's always great if we can get, if anyone wants to. Otherwise, I think we've stayed very loyal and on time, and hopefully given you that insight into the piece between support and how the LiveOps piece is now all merging into that one end-to-end platform. So anyone got a question out there? I do have a question that wasn't in this, and that is regulatory framework. The regulatory framework is now starting to shift. Lots of pressure coming in around privacy. The Digital Act is coming in. Anyone want to grab a very quick 1-line or 2-line thoughts on how will that impact and how we create LiveOps and support environments?
I can go very quickly since everyone seems so eager. I think from our side, like we're closely following everything that's going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, I think, this year when it comes to privacy, when it comes to web shops and all that fun stuff. I think from our side, the main thing we're focused on is player quality, and I think on the privacy side, that's around being transparent to our players, as we've always been, and just making sure that we continue to deliver excellent value. And then the same thing happens on the store side. There's a lot of stuff that's changing. At the end of the day, all that matters is that our players get the best experience possible, and that's something we're aiming to deliver. So it's pretty vague, but keep your eyes open.
Cannot say a lot of things because I've been busy with implementing help shift. So didn't dig into the topic yet. So I think I need to do that with legal. But yeah.
Finishing up with you, Sebastian. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we all know that retention is the key nowadays. So every account closed, deleted is a pain for us. So, but like you mentioned, we need to make sure that we stay aligned with the regulatory, and we make the process as easy as possible for the player, basically. And also, we embedded this process in HelpShift thanks to the tool that we are using. It makes us really easy to report on that, and also we are able to collect the reasons why people actually are leaving the game, and then it helps us to improve as well,
Well, that's us at the end, and guys, thank you for sitting with us and listening through. And hey, Oscar, back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.